natural disaster that hit our country. COVID is the worst disaster that has hit the world in modern times. And what comes to mind is a song that says, when a hero comes along. I tell you see where the heart of a nation is when the nation's back is against the wall and you watch the conduct of its people. Our national anthem says, see how the world walks the manner of your burial. During Dorian, my heart was grieving and my heart was proud because I saw people who in the midst of their birth, in the midst of their peace, took death in and hope and started being their food for the and rescuing the perishing and caring for the dying. I remember when Dorian was on the scene, our Marines were alluding to the attack, and God went ahead of the storm and they rolled the storm out. I salute our Marines, our police officers that held their ground and did their job. The practice that stuff, the people in that war, the family dining that went to their cover and gave them their cooking and gave them their food. We are a nation of heroes. We should salute the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and salute our essential workers and those for the front line. We commemorate those who in the midst of their fear
King.
and laugh. So in commemoration of those that
Good evening, good evening.
Yeah, you are not a host, buddy.
Okay, no problem. So we will start at 8:30
Yeah.
in 2 minutes. Yes.
All right, buddy.
Okay, no problem.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Yep.
I want you to say that you are our heroes. Join us as we celebrate by looking at a tribute to our essential workers.
You put it on there. Marketing coming on, marketing. Don't forget, you start with those two glasses. How to information I can register you next week. Very important. Try and grasp it. Right or wrong? Okay. Huh? Oh.
And good evening, executives, members of the SBARC 242. Welcome to tonight's national political leadership series, where we have a prominent political leader over the years who will be addressing us. But we want to first begin by recognizing each and every one of you. And thank you for joining us in this special session. SBARC 242 was founded actually in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic, when many businesses in our country were being faced with tough economic times as a result of public policy, which basically closed down the economy on several occasions. And so a prominent group of business persons came together, and it was established that there needs to be some representation for micro, small, and medium enterprises in the public sector. And so as a result, the SBARC 242 was formed, and our key founder, our principal founder, was Mr. Mark Turnquest, a prominent business advocate over the years. And he was joined by several illustrious men and women to plead the cause of micro, small, and medium business enterprises in our country. And so we are now a non-governmental organization, having been incorporated, and we are here to represent the interests of small business. And last year, we embarked on a march to plead the cause of small businesses in the midst of the pandemic. And so we are just so thankful that we've been in existence for this past year, where we have been publicly advocating on behalf of the small business person. And so we welcome each and every one of you here tonight. We are just so thankful. We want to recognize our president, Mr. Turnquest, and allow him to say a few words. And we also have our presenter on the platform who will be introduced shortly. Mr. Turnquest.
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We came from last year from a march to a movement. We'll be launching the Small Business Association and Resource Center 242, code SBRC 242, and later on this month in September. But I'm so proud of all of our members. I'm proud of everyone, all our board members. We are fully representative. We'll be fully incorporated next week. We have 10 board members, 7 management team, and a host of committee members. Boy, it was a hard year, but we have done it, and we must commence that. Hey, we're moving forward. And Mr. Dean, he's our deputy chairman. Presently, our chairman, Alberta Rhodes, she's away and doing some medical treatment. But hey, at the end of the day, it's all about small business development. And like I always say, I ain't see too much tonight, but all of you know me. Small business, small business, small business. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you so much, Mr. President. We appreciate your words of wisdom and taking us back down memory lane. And so, without further ado, we're going to introduce our presenter this evening, who will be presenting his organization's platform and perspective on micro, small, and medium business enterprises. We are in the midst of the election season, and we thought it not robbery to really engage national political leaders who we know will form the next administration of the Commonwealth of Bahamas. And we want those national leaders to understand that small business persons are a key demographic in the country. And we want our national leaders to understand that we would like to hold them accountable, because There have been administrations come and administrations go. And small and micro business is left in the dust, it seems, each and every time. But we believe that this time around, there will be a difference. The Bahamas is on the way to change, and so we are so grateful to have our presenter tonight. I want to recognize part of our executive management is Joan Turnquest, and she will be assisting me tonight with questioning our presenter later on. And so we just want to recognize her, and of course, Mr. President, recognize our chairperson, Ms. Alberta Rule, in her absence. But nonetheless, let's get straight to it. Our speaker is, in fact, a professional business consultant himself. He has sat on the board of directors of several local companies. He holds a Bachelor of Arts from TSU, I think that's Tennessee State University. He is a business person. He is the leader of the United Coalition Movement, one of the major parties in the Commonwealth. And I know him to be an IT specialist. I didn't see that on his biography, but I know him to be a specialist in information technology. And so he is a leader who is up to date and relevant to the times in which we live. And so his party has been advocating on behalf of the Bahamian people for many years. And so we are so pleased to have as our presenter tonight the leader of the United Coalition Movement. And that comes in the form of Mr. Cassius Stuart. And he's a down-home person, but yet he understands the global economy. So please, SBARC 242, join me in welcoming our presenter for tonight, Mr. Cassius Stuart. He will present for an hour, and then we will have the opportunity to ask him pertinent questions as it relates to MSME policy and development in the country. Mr. Stuart, welcome, sir.
It is a pleasure coming to you live from Governor's Harbor, Eleuthera. And I bring you greetings from all my chickens that are crowing in the back of the yard. It is so exciting to be here, and I'm glad that we are now engaging in technologies to be able to still stay together, even though we have, this COVID crisis. But I am one of you. I just want to start by saying I am one of you. I've been an advocate for small business development. I've been a champion for small business development. I remember when I came home from school, I had a bachelor's degree. Now I have a master's degree in business administration. But my thrust was always how to develop small businesses in the Bahamas. And so I was contracted by the College of the Bahamas to prepare their small business development platform. And I think it was Daniel Thompson at the time. He was the vice president of the Small Business Association. And so I wrote the curriculum for the Small Business Association for the College of the Bahamas. And so I understand exactly the challenges, the struggles, the hurdles that, we all go through. In addition to that, I released my book, I think it was last year or year before last, on a new start in business. And, from developing business plans, understanding marketing plans, understanding the concept of business, understanding the 4 P's of marketing, the whole gamut of all the technologies and the terminologies in business, I was able to encapsulate in a book because I wanted Bahamians to be able to get that new start. One of the things that I've always struggled with was that when I was writing business plans for people, the issues we always had was I would write the business plan and I would turn it over to the individuals and they would take it to the bank, but they wouldn't know what in the plan because I wrote the plan. And so the challenge I always said, if you want a business plan, you would have to understand what's in your plan because you'll have to defend that when the lending institution comes to you to question you about your marketing strategy or your management strategy. But most people don't even care about all of that. So what I did was I put the whole concept in a book where they would be able to engage themselves in developing their own business plan. And so from a micro perspective, personally, I'm a part of really building the small business sector in the Bahamas by, first of all, helping to develop the curriculum for the College of the Bahamas, and also preparing a book which includes a manual on how do you write your own business to assist Bahamians so that they can get that new start that they want. Now, barring that, though, I think there are a lot of challenges we face as small businesses. One of the major challenges we face is the fact that, you know, we don't get no respect from the banks, from the governments. And I have a master's in business administration, like I said, and I remember I opened up a company, and I had a container coming in, and I remember going to the bank, and I said to the bank manager, I said, listen, I have a container coming in, and I'm not sure what the customs on is going to be, but I would need to know if I can get a $5,000 overdraft facility just to in case. And I remember the week before, we just opened up an account for my wife to start her new practice, and we just opened it up with the minimum $250. And I'm sitting there talking to the bank manager, and he said to me, Mr. Stuart, I can't give you a $5,000 overdraft because you're not a professional. And so I paused for a minute. I said, what do you mean I'm not a professional? I mean, it's the last time I checked, I got all the degrees. He told me, but you're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, or you're not an accountant. So under our policies, we can only accommodate those three type of people. He said to me, we can give it to your wife. So I said to him, but how you could give it to her and we just open up the account? It was only $250, the basic minimum we just opened it up with. And he said, we can give it to her, but we can't give it to you. And that was a slap in the face to me. And I said to him, I said, how much money on my account? And he wrote it down, he gave it to me. It was like 20-something thousand at the time. I said, she get $250, I get 20-something. You could give it to her, you can't give it to me because she's a doctor. And so I realized that that point, small business professionals don't get no respect. And we have to be able to, as a country, and also through legislation and government policy, respect business people, even though they are not in the category of what we call professionals in the Bahamas, a doctor, lawyer, an accountant, or an engineer. And so, you know, couple months later on, I went to the bank and I said, listen, you know, I have these contracts with certain organizations, and I want to be able to bring in bigger supplies. I need to borrow some money for a truck. They said to me, I don't know if we could do that. And of course, my account is growing and growing and growing. I said, I only need $5,000, $10,000. And they refused to give it to me. And then they came back to me and said, oh, we want to give it to you. I said, no, I bought the cash. I don't need you anymore. And so when it comes to the hurdles, I understand the hurdle because I'm in the business field. And so all of the struggles that we go through, first of all, with the lending institutions, it has to be addressed. One of the problems, though, the bank always told me that they have, and I'm speaking to you not just as a politician, I'm speaking to you as experience. And then we'll talk about how do we fix it. One of the problems the banks have with Bahamian businesses is that there is no planning. There is no proper management of affairs or accounts. And so the banks are saying that the problem we don't lend to Bahamian businesses the way we want to is because they're coming here with an idea, but there's no proper business planning. And so this is why you have people like your president, Mark, has been out there working hard to encapsulate and to engage Bahamians into small business to prepare properly. The next step is there is no proper management of affairs. So when you make the first $20, you put 10 in your pocket and you put 10 back in. The next thing you know, you keep the money for yourself. So what we have to do in terms of developing the small business sector, not just from a legislative perspective, but also from a corporate perspective, is we have to have a better ecosystem of how it works. When I was graduating, when I was in Tennessee State University, Bank of America had what they call an incubation center for small businesses. And I used to go there a lot. And this incubation center, what it does is that once you present your plan, and if the Bank of America funds your plan, what they would do is they would provide the management until they think that you're mature enough to handle the management of your own business, which I thought was pretty good. And so I think an incubation center is also necessary in order for us to incubate a lot of the small business sectors, because you know, 1 in every 3 or 4 small businesses fail within the first 3 years. And so how do we mitigate against the failure is by proper planning. One of the other ideas too, one of the other issues we face as a small business sector is no creativity, no ingenuity. And I always believe that for me, if a small business sector is to flourish, we have to be creative. And one man once said that if you want to be a billionaire, then solve $1 billion problem. If you want to be a millionaire, then solve $1 million problem. If you want to stay broke, don't solve no problems. And so the success of the small business sector is being creative. How do we solve problems that we see in the world today? And so for me, I've been somewhat creative in the fact that I've been able to be on the cutting edge of dealing with problems as they arise. And so I benefited from, and not to boast about it, but when we have the Zika virus issues, I was able to benefit from that because I was able to jump on that and be a part of solving the problem. So we had the Zika problem in Jamaica, and I was sitting on a rock in Jamaica. And at that time, 1 in every 6 Jamaican was infected by Zika virus. And I said, how do I fix this problem? And so I decided to create a product called mosquito wipes. But I didn't want it to create this mosquito wipes like the off. So we use what we call the natural citronella oils. And that was been able to introduce into the Jamaican market and the Bahamian market. So when we had the Zika virus here, we had all of these scares, I was able to benefit from that. When we had the Ebola virus scare, it was about being creative enough to figure out how do we be in front of the curve rather than behind the curve. And so being able to purchase all of the ISO chambers and all of the gowns and so on and so on. And so that's how, for me, I think creativity lends to your success in business. It's about being ahead of the curve, but also looking at global events and anticipating what's going to happen. And so I think as an ecosystem, I think it's important that one of the things that I realized that why we fail as a country and as a group is that we work independently. Independence it seems to be a good word, but I'm learning recently that our success or our failures in life is because we're independent. There is no organism on planet Earth that is independent. Everything works in an ecosystem. And this ecosystem is the ecosystem that supports and sustains the growth of any organism or any organisms. And as an organism, an organization, we need to work in an ecosystem. We need to figure out how do we work closer together so that our businesses can benefit. And so we have many opportunities to work together, but somehow over the years, we have not learned to trust one another. We have not learned to interact with one another, work with one another. I'm not sure why that is, and I'm not going to talk about our skin color, but it's a problem that we face. And so legislation can't fix that. What we need to fix that is we have to reach to the point where we can begin to trust one another, to work with one another. You don't have to like one another, work with one another, but once you understand that there's a mutual relationship to get to a common goal, that makes your business more successful. And so for me, I'm talking more general, more personal right now, and then we'll get into legislative talk. And so for me, when I look at most of the small businesses in New Providence, in Grand Bahama, and even in Eleuthera right now, you see that a lot of us, we try to do it on our own. We have to understand that there are different linkages in the value chain. In the value chain of success, there are different players, there are different linkages. And if we find a way to mitigate those gaps and to shorten those gaps, I think we can become successful. I have had an opportunity to do quite a bit of work in China. I have 11 factories that do work for me in China. I have some opportunities to work in Colombia. We do a lot of work in Colombia as well too, with different factories. And so for me, I understand global trade. I understand the system that the Chinese produce. I understand the importance of mass production. But I think that as a country, though, I think our biggest hurdle is, first of all, understanding that our national success is us understanding how to work together. Now, once we work together, then we could figure out how do we now overcome the hurdles that the banks have, which is proper planning, proper management and proper administration of our affairs. Once we could do that, then we can get past the issues with the bank. Now, I don't know if you remember, under the last administration, the Bank of the Bahamas has been under fire because they loaned some politicians, plenty money, and these politicians can't pay the money back because they're politicians. And this is some of the things that make it hard for people like you and me who have legitimate businesses, because now the banks are saying that we don't have no more money to lend because we lend it to these politicians and they screwed it all up. I think we need to be straight up and say, listen, we have to, when it comes to the small business sector, we have to be able to do things right the first time around. And this thing of nepotism, this thing of curry favoring the politician, it has to end, because what it does, though, it makes it bad for those who legitimately have businesses and those who legitimately need help. And so I think, though, we are on to something new. I think this is a new start. I think organizations like this is what needs to be the voice of the small business community, so that we can begin to strengthen our resolve and also look for local funding. Now, another problem that we have is access to capital. One of the things that I know this administration just did was they opened up the ceiling for access to international capital. I think we should be at a point in the history of our life now, after 48 years, where we can access international capital to fuel our business. I remember when I started my computer company in 1998, I went into the bank and the bank manager said to me, Mr. Stuart, I'm going to need $200 to open up the account. So I look at the bank manager and said, sir, I don't have $200. He said, how much do you have? He said, you have 100. I said, no, sir. He said, what do you have? I said, sir, I only have hopes and dreams. And so the bank manager took out a $20 bill and he opened up my account for me, information systems designers. And within 1 year, we did $1 million in sales. And so sometimes, though, even though you don't have access to funding, you got to be creative enough to be able to generate revenue, generate sales, and generate the necessary sales to carry your business. But I believe now, with the advent of the internet and the advent of global funding and the advent of this e-commerce and globalization, I think the central bank needs to relax its policy of strangling us from getting access to local international capital. I think, though, our success is one of the we all know that the fuel of any business is money. And so if you are a flickering spark, in order to get your business afire, you need that fuel, and the money is that fuel. And so we need to have access to that capital. We know that there's not much angel investors in the Bahamas, and those who are angel investors are basically, they will give you investment at probably 19 to 20 and 25% interest rate, which will basically strangle your business. And so I think the success is now looking at avenues where we could bring now international capital, or allow the small business sector to go source international capital, because the more money we get flowing into these businesses, the better it is. Right now, I'm in Eleuthera, and some 20, 30 years ago, Eleuthera had about 6, 7 factories, whether it's the ice cream factory, it has the canning factory, and all these different factories. And for me, my push is now to bring them factory back. But how do we do it? How do we bring the factories back? We can either do it 2 ways. We can either look at for foreign direct investment, or we can look at local direct investment. One of the things that we want to do is what we call a local consortium, where there are members of the community be able to put up monies to be able to open up the factories, whether it's canning teas and canning salt. Like, I just came from a good friend of mine who does all these things. And so the people on the island really is very creative. And so I just came from a friend of mine, and she produces her own salt, and she produces her own teas, she produces her own seasoning. And now to be able to put that on a large scale is where we want to go. And so, but of course, we need either access to international capital, which the central bank needs to open up, or we need to be able to open up a consortium where there are members of the community will play a part of putting up monies to be able to source these new ideas. And so I think small businesses, though, is the key. I mean, we all know that, and it's a cliche now. It's the backbone. It's a cliche. However, even though we are the backbone, they don't treat us as if we're the backbone. We've never been treated as we're the backbone. We have given concessions upon concessions. I was just reading the heads of agreement to the Disney project down here earlier today. And the concessions that they gave Disney, if they had given any one of you all, you guys would have been successful tomorrow. And so what we do is we roll out the red carpet for foreigners, but we pull it back for Bahamians. I mean, need I remind each one of you that this is our country. And as a citizen of the country, we're supposed to be the first ones at the table benefiting from the first fruits. However, we don't even get access to the table and we don't get none of the fruits. And so I'm always shocked by the way these governments would create legislation to protect or even give incentive to foreigners. One of the issues I remember when Bahama was, the heads of agreement was being signed. At that time, it was Phil Ruff, I can't remember his name. He was the owner at the time, and the Christie administration, he had a $13 million debt and casino license tax. He had all these other debts. He had, and so the government decided to forgive all those debts. And I'm saying, but you can't do that. You can't forgive the debts of these people, but you don't do that for your own people. And so then you would give them $100 million in duty-free exemption and duty-free exemption on all materials. No, it wasn't no VAT at the time, so it was duty-free exemption. But you know, for me, if anyone is to benefit from exemptions, it should be its citizens. A government can make any citizen rich overnight. And one of the things I've been talking about recently is that we have two of our major industries, which is the banking sector and the tourism sector. First of all, the banking sector. There are Bahamians who have been asking to get into the banking sector now for years. However, we've been strangled. And so among this group, maybe people who want to get into the banking sector, when you want to own your own bank, then why not? Why not? And so we have to be able to say, if you're a Bahamian, then you should be given preferential treatment to own your own bank. But we have these policies that are so vague and nebulous that, oh, we don't want, and it's so cumbersome to get over their hurdles that you can't get into the banks. Banks make a lot of money in the Bahamas, and Royal Bank and Scotia and all, and they made a hell of a lot of money. I think moving forward under the new dispensation, I think now we need to see more local Bahamian banks popping up, maybe owned by some of you. And I'm in favor of making sure you are granted license to open up your own banks. In addition to that, I'm talking about the second major industry. Well, the first major industry in the Bahamas is tourism. Now, tourism has many different components to be where you can become successful. But one of the biggest components of success is the casinos. I know we are a Christian nation, and I know some people have their issues with gambling. I don't gamble, but I just have a problem with you can give a foreigner a license to own a casino to generate $250 million a year to export out to your country. But if Mark or McLean or Rex or anyone, Edison, decide they want to open up their own hotel and they want a casino, they can't get it. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that because if this is my country, then if a foreigner can get access to that wealth, why can't I? And so what if I decide to give Keith Dean a casino license on his resort in Ignagua? That changes the game for him, because now he could go on the international market with his LOI, his letter of intent, like the rest of them do, and raise money to build his resort to be able to sustain his casino. And his casino is basically a license to print cash. So if they can have a license to print cash, is it because I'm a Bahamian, I'm dark-skinned, or I don't understand their logic? And so we've elected these people who look like us, who are from our schools, who are from our families, but they don't think like us. I don't understand it, because if anyone is to benefit from the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, it should be its citizens across the board. There is no segregation. There is no saying this sector is reserved for them and this sector. No, everything is for the Bahamians. Now, foreigners can get access to it secondary, but first of all, I believe in taking care of its citizens. And so for me, I don't think that we should just sit down and take the taxi cab spot. think we should sit down quietly and take the bus boy spot. While those are important, I think we should go for the whole hog. Let's own the hotel and the casino. And for me, we've settled for the last 28, 30 years for the mediocre jobs. The expats come in and they take the top jobs. But you have entrepreneurs here who can start their own motels with a mini casinos in it. What that would do for your life? Think about what that would do for your life. And so there are a lot of opportunities. And right now we are now being engaged. We are now engaging in with a new talk called the new talk we got is called natural resource. Now, our country has a lot of natural resource. The primary natural resource we have is water. Now, I can get to the ragged and sand. We forget the water. We have hired a foreign company to suck water from our sea, to convert it from salt to fresh and sell it back to us. Why have we not even considered presenting that to the members who are in the small business community? And so we have these strategic deals that this irks me. Here in Eleuthera, here in New Providence, in Grand Bahama now, they're doing it as well too. And so all these opportunities for Bahamians, but we overlook Bahamians. And so we've overlooked Bahamians from time immemorial. So I'm going to encourage the small business community to get active now and to get ready, because when you're looking at the natural resources from salt, we are going in the business. We're going into business because it doesn't make sense for us to have the raw material in our islands, in our country, and we only make $20,000. I think it's $19,000 royalty. I think we make a year, $19,000 a year royalties. And so how could these companies make billions of dollars, but we don't make any from it? And so right now among this group, maybe people who want to get access to this, want to be able to get access to the salt industries. If we can produce it, then let Bahamians produce it. These industries should be made in the Bahamas. These industries should be producing from the Bahamas. One of the things that you all should know is what they call the CBI, Caribbean Basin Initiative. Under the CBI, which was signed in 1982 by Ronald Reagan, it allows for any company that manufactures products in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas duty-free into the United States of America. So if we're producing table salt, pool salt, softener salt, road salt from a new company that we can create, we already have the treaty signed called the CBI to get access to the United States market. And so Morton takes advantage of it greatly because now they know about the CBI. And so they take advantage of it because whatever's produced, it ships out. And so we have, you've heard I talked about the aragonite. There is considerable amount of aragonite in the Bahamas, whether we're making sheet rock, whether we're making do rock, and all of those factories should be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And so this group of entrepreneurs, we have to begin to think differently than the previous group. We have to begin to think about how do we now build the factories. We have Lomé Convention 1, Lomé 2, Lomé 3. We are signatories to all of the Lomé Conventions. Lomé Convention says that, listen, anything produced in the Bahamas can be exported into European Union duty-free. We also have access to the African market. 3 months ago, Africa just signed a single market economy, which makes their continent $3 trillion market, which is the fastest growing continent on the planet and the youngest. And so now for us to be able to access their markets from the products that are produced in the Bahamas, we have to now begin to think global. Our strategy in the coalition is regional domination and global domination. We want to position Bahamian businesses throughout the world. We don't want to just play in our little small $14 billion economy. We want to play in the $5 trillion economy in America, the $4 trillion economy in the European Union, the $3 trillion economy in Africa. How do we position Bahamian businesses in those economies? Simple. One of our policies is one, regional domination. Second policy is we're going to make sure that our ambassadors and our trade, our embassies around the world are called trade depots. We want to be able to use those trade depots to open up the doors so that Bahamian businesses can get into Africa, get into Canada, get into the United States, get into South America. And once we do that, this is why we need young, aggressive, and exciting ambassadors out there to open up these doors. The ambassador post for old retired politicians has come to an end. I'm sending you to Canada to go sit down to go drink tea all day. I need you to make sure that look for those opportunities in Canada where Bahamian businesses can be able to plant their seed. And so this is why I believe that our policies are so exciting, because not only are we going to take over the Caribbean region, we're going to access the international market. One of the issues several years ago we always had was what they call the free market, the free movement of people under the Treaty of Chaguaramas. And Bahamians were always afraid that, oh, they coming to take our jobs. Oh, the Jamaicans coming to take our jobs. The Haitians coming to take our jobs. And so we didn't want to be a party to that free movement of people. Our approach is different. You can never score if you on defense rather. But if you're on offense, then you can score. I'm not scared of them. I want to be able to put Bahamian businesses in Jamaica, because the Jamaican economy is bigger than our economy. The Trinidadian economy is bigger than our economy. And so if we could be able to penetrate their markets, penetrate their avenues, we can have Bahamian businesses throughout the region. You can imagine you go to Jamaica, you would see this is the only name that comes to mind, a Bamboo Shop or Kelly's, because now we've planted Bahamian businesses throughout the region. And so they're not only playing in this market, they're all over. And so for us, while we are talking about small business, we want to be able to talk about how do we grow into bigger business. And so the small business is the first step. But our policy with our embassies is to be able to open up the doors. And so I understand what it is to do business in Jamaica. I understand what it is to do business in Trinidad, because I do some business there. I have business license to work down there. And I export from the Bahamas into Belize medical products. And one of the other challenges we have is shipping as well too. So for me, it is something that I live, I breathe, I do every day. And so I understand the challenges, but I understand what it takes to make it successful. While we're talking about small businesses, we want a revolving door where the first 100 was small business for the first year, and they move up to they move into the next category, while the new set come and they are small business. If you're a small business all your life, then something is wrong. You need to get into the bigger markets. And so I have an idea how we're going to do that. Right now, before the last hurricane, we were putting together a trade mission to Sierra Leone, where we were taking a lot of Bahamian businesses into Sierra Leone. The government of Sierra Leone had sent a letter that they would accommodate and they want us to come in. Now, they just came out of civil war and they are now doing well. However, there are some things that they need that we have. And they were asking for us to bring electricians and engineers and construction workers and IT people and so on and so on. But there goes a good idea now we are now going back to the motherland as a part of diaspora to take our ingenuity and our creativity into Africa. And that market is huge. And so I want to be able to position Bahamian businesses all around the world to be able to access different capital, access different markets. We know that Colombia is one of the main hubs that produce a lot of stuff. And I tell people this, that I've been engaged by the Colombian government to do to be a part of several of their shows. And when I do go, my trips are fully paid for by the Colombian government. And so they engage us to say, listen, come and look at our trade shows and look at our products. And these are the products we have and so on. Whatever you're interested in, we'll facilitate. And they fly you down there. And, I get to eat a lot of good Colombian. My wife and I went the last time. We did a lot. We had some fun too. But it was fully paid for by the Colombian government. And so, but they engage us because they want us to do business with them. And so all these different avenues that I am now working in and exploring and being a part of, I want to commercialize it. I want more Bahamians to have access to it. And so I'm excited of the possibilities of us now, first of all, building these industries. So as a small business sector, remember now, I'm using these words careful because when I read our preamble, I realized that the founding fathers gave us some context clues that we kind of forgot. One of the clues is that our success is tied to discipline, and then the next one is industry. And so the success of the Bahamas is tied to the industries. the industries that are not born yet, the industries that you are pregnant with. And so you have to be the ones to now bring forward the industries. But that industries has to be fueled and supported by the government, has to be fueled and supported by the banking sector, but also to allow you to have access to international capital. And so when those industries rise, we now know the markets we're going after. We can get into the lawmaker, be a part of the lawmaking convention. We can get into Africa and the Pacific states under the European Union, a part of the CBI, the Caribbean Basin Initiative. We can get into the European American market, and so for me, I'm excited about the possibility of industries in the Bahamas and what we could possibly do. I know for sure why. I know we may hem and haw about it. It's a controversial topic, but we will find oil in the Bahamas. And the question is, what do we do with that oil when we find the oil? And so I will talk on the side of what we can do with it. I ain't gonna talk on the side about what we ain't gonna do. All right. There are 6 derivatives from oil, right? So when you extract oil out of anywhere, any land, there's 6 derivatives you can get out of oil. The first one is you can get lighter fuel, where you can light your cigarette lighters. So as you heat oil at different degrees, you get different components. You get lighter fluid, then you get diesel, you get kerosene, then you get gasoline. You also get rubber that you put on car tires. You get wax that you use to wax down your furniture. That comes from oil. You also get those components that you use in headphones. Those made from oil. You get asphalt is another component. And so if we are to ever get into it and extracting, it's not just selling oil to BEC. It's basically how do you now work with those 6 derivatives to be able to create new industries. And so it's exciting. We have sand. When you heat sand at a certain temperature, they call silicon dioxide. It creates glass, but also silicon dioxide is a component for microchips. And so all the microchips that we're using right now to be able to process this image for you to see, it comes from the heating of sand. And so we want to be able to explore that industry. For me, I'm not interested in exporting our raw material out and get monies on the raw material. I'm interested in building the factories in the Bahamas so that we can be able to benefit from the industries. And then what you do is you create a public offering and you make sure that Bahamians get shares in it. Every Bahamian can get a share. And if these factories are producing hundreds of millions of dollars through the silicon dioxide for the microchips and so on, producing glass, the 6 derivatives from oil, and so on, we can create a mecca right here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, just through our natural resources. And then also I need some business people in the Bahamas, some entrepreneurs to say, listen, we want to do the reverse osmosis because we cannot allow the foreigners to come and benefit millions and millions of dollars from our water. All they're doing is converting it into fresh and selling it back to us. That don't make no sense to me. And so I'm pregnant with ideas. I am excited about what the possibility. That's only the hard part. I'm also engaged heavily into the software industry as well too. And I've developed games. The gaming industry is a $75 billion industry a year. I'm into that as well too. I'm also doing quite a bit of apps as well too. I'm designing some apps, money transfer and other things that I won't say too much right now. But for me, the avenue is open. One of the I think the strength of what we're going to do is that in the school system, we're going to integrate money management. Because I think that from the 8th grade, I think our young people need to understand what money is, understanding stocks and trading and understanding bonds and securities and cryptocurrency and all these things. I think we got to begin to train our children to understand that. We never was taught about money. I mean, we learned money on the street, but it was never a system to the madness. We have to put a system to it so that our children, they could understand management of money, understanding debits and credits, understanding the whole dynamics so that when they engage or when they get into the business sector, there's not a learning curve to learn all over again. And so for me, I am excited that what's the possibility of how do we now integrate into the school system money management. But also we want to integrate into the school system coding, because right now we are sitting down to a computer over Zoom. 3 years ago, Zoom didn't wait what it's waiting now. And so somebody wrote the code for this. Now, if a Bahamian had written the code for this, they would have been a billionaire right now. And so there are other avenues that Bahamians can get access to that we can train them. And so for me, I write code. I'm a developer. I write code as well too. So I'm not only a politician, I'm a software developer. I'm also a businessman. If I can, though, I would like to show you all some of the products that I've created. I have them on my YouTube page. I would like to just do a screen share and then show you all that if I can. But for me, it's about how do we become the best? I have a policy of number one. The Bahamas will become number one in small business, will become number one in trade in the region. We have to be able to have something to fight for, to strive for, to believe in. And so if we are to become the best, we got to shoot for the best, we got to expect the best, and we got to demand the best, not only from our leaders though, we got to demand the best from ourselves. Because success is not determined by what you do compared to others. Success is what you do compared to what you could do to yourself. So in other words, if you could have done better and you fail, then you're a failure. And so I don't judge our success based upon
Hello?
Your mic is muted, Mr. Dane.
I do apologize. I was hoping that I think Mr. Stuart should log right back in. I think there was just a technology freeze. But his talk has been interesting up to this point. He is indicating that his party's policy would be to encourage Bahamians not just to look at markets within the Bahamas, but to take advantage of those international incentives, like he mentioned, the Lomé Convention for Bahamian exports to Europe. He mentioned looking at other markets such as the South American market. You mentioned Colombia. Okay, Mr. Stuart is back. Go ahead, Mr. Stuart.
You hear me now?
Yes, just before you go, Mr. Stuart, can you please mute your mics? Please kindly mute your mics for us, please. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Mr. Stuart.
Yeah, so sorry about that. Don't let the devil get the best of us right here. The internet in these islands aren't always the best. And so this is why what I was saying is that we have to expect more from ourselves as a people, and we got to demand the best. And so whatever we do as an ecosystem, as a small business community, let's make sure that it is the best we could possibly produce and be the best in everything. And so I wanted to show you guys some of the work that I've done, some of my products. I'm in the medical field, and I sell medical products. I'm in the I specialize in the incontinence line. So I don't know if everybody know what incontinence means. Incontinence means everybody was born incontinent or they will die incontinent. And so that means no matter where you are in your stage of your life, I intend to make some money off you. And so I believe in being creative that way. And so if I can, you could share your screen. If I could have access to the.
Yes, Mr. Turnquest, if you can allow Mr. Stuart to share his screen.
Got it?
let's just see, just,
I just want to show you all some of the products that I've created, and
sure. Yes, just a moment.
you got it.
Just one moment. We got,
You there?
Hey, Keith, Keith, you're
yes,
the host, you could allow Mr.
Yeah, you're the
Stuart
host,
to
Keith.
host him. Huh?
right, just give me 1 moment.
Yeah,
See
because
what I can-
I'm not the host anymore. You know.
Okay, yeah, I thought we were co-hosts. I do apologize.
Don't forget, I will
Just
link
give
us
me
to you for a
1
little while
moment.
now. I'm just listening like everybody else, buddy.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, but it's a
Uh,
nice presentation from Mr. Stuart. I know him from when I used to work to Refrigeration Center
Mhm.
about 25 years ago. He was an IT specialist.
Salam.
yes.
Exactly. So that means he was around from that's a long time, and he was always very professional. He always wanted to recruit me into his movement for days, but I always felt like everybody I'm not a politician. From I know him 25, 26 years ago, he always wanted me to be a politician, but this is my gift. God gave it to me, and this is what I into. And like I said, small business, small business, small business.
Yeah. Yes, I see. I appear to be having some technical issues myself. Just give me 1 moment here.
One of the things I've always been careful of is that even though I do a lot of people don't know what I do. And that is also by design. I try to keep myself private and even my businesses, because as a Bahamian manufacturer, small business, we get a lot of challenges. And if people know that your products are Bahamian made, they would say, oh, well, I don't know if I want that, or I know good, or whatever. And so I always, I have my company incorporated in the United States. And so all of my company is branded out of my company in the US. So when they see the label, it's an international company, but it's still me. And so there are some different tricks that you can learn. How do you be able to protect yourself and protect your business? One of the things that I'm heavily on is branding and making sure that your product is top notch. So when people see it, they don't never believe that it's what they call a quote unquote Bahamian product. Because from time we put out some shoddy work, some of our people, we got to make sure that whatever we do it to the best of our ability. And so I still don't have rights to share.
Yeah, just give me a moment. I lost my screen for a moment. Just give me a
Mark, you're sharing your screen, not you. I won't share my screen.
Okay, so we have to make Mr. Turnquest. You have to make him a co-host, and I'm not. I'm trying to see how we can make Mr. Stuart a co-host.
Are we there? No,
Not
Mark.
yet.
Yeah, I think you're sharing your screen. I wanted to share my screen, not you share your screen.
So
Mark, turn yours off. Turn your screen sharing off.
do that. I do apologize. Okay. Are you able to move your mouse at the moment? No.
So Mark, end screen sharing. You could end your screen sharing, Mark.
See something. Yeah, okay. So, Mr. Turnquest, you're gonna have to share the code or the host.
Right, there you go. Okay, but if we're having challenges, then we could just skip that part. So I just wanted to show you all some exciting stuff. And so you know, a lot of people talk small business, but I just wanted to show you all where we are and what is being produced in the Bahamas. You got it, Mark? You can make me a host. Mark, okay, great. Okay.
I'll give you, sorry, hold on 1 second.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. All right, I'm good. Okay.
Okay, I see it now.
You can see it now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. These are some of the products that I create. I have a brand called Secure.
Makeup enhances your beauty, but it can also be hard on your skin. Some makeup removers even leave makeup residue behind. Secure Makeup Remover takes it all off with one towelette. Secure Makeup Remover is infused with vitamin E and aloe to give you deep cleaning, removing makeup in one easy step. Dermatologist and allergy tested for the most sensitive skin. It leaves your face feeling fresh and renewed. Secure Makeup Remover is an official sponsor of the Miss Bahamas World Pageant and is available in these fine stores. Get secured today.
All right, that's one of my products, my makeup removers. I also produce.
Bladder and bowel control is a problem for some seniors, small children, and even adults. But now with Secure disposable underpads, you can protect your linens, beds, and furniture. Secure features a latex-free diamond embossed quilt pattern and soft cloth-like top sheet with 5 layers of protection. Secure's super absorbent polymers quickly lock away wetness, and their extra strength moisture-proof backing gives them greater resistance to tearing. Better than the leading products on the market with competitive pricing. Secure underpads.
That is my bed pads. We produce some of the best adult diapers on the market.
Incontinence makes you feel like you can't go anywhere or do anything. But new Secure adult diapers give you back your freedom. Secure adult diapers have a breathable, super absorbent material with 15 grams of sap for maximum absorbency, comfort, and odor control. They feature side leak guards and even a wetness indicator. Secure diapers have 10 times more absorbency than most brands. That's why Secure adult diapers are the #1 brand on the market. Are you secure? Don't tell me it depends. Available at these pharmacies and other fine pharmacies and stores. Get secured today.
So these are some of the products that I create, I make. I told you all about this one here, the mosquito wipes.
The Zika virus that is spread by mosquitoes is affecting countries across the world. Now you can rest easy and protect your family with new Secure mosquito wipes. Secure mosquito wipes are made with natural citronella oils and are DEET-free. Secure mosquito wipes keep insects at bay for up to 6 hours. Now you can be secured while being outdoors from mosquitoes and other pests. Stop the bite with Secure anti-mosquito wipes. Available at Super Value, Solomon's, Lowe's, Prescription Parlor Pharmacy, other pharmacies and stores. Get secured today.
So those are a few of my
Thank
a few of the
you so
brand products
much.
that I.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stuart. Wow, you are already in global business, and we want to congratulate you so much. It's so good to see some of the everyday products that we see on the shelves, particularly the mosquito wipes. Your company has produced that product, and along with some other products. And so we begin by congratulating you. And not only have you, you understand business, you are actually practically involved in business. You're developing intellectual property, and that's something that we as behaviors need to get into and to expand. So thank you so much. Your presentation was awesome. It was down to earth, and as I said before, it was practical. We just would like to ask about 5 questions on behalf of our membership who are keenly watching this particular presentation tonight, and we have some pertinent questions, because even though we understand that yes, the private sector has a big role to play in terms of development of MSMEs, we know that the public policy is also important. For example, India has gone so far as to set up its MSME model, where it has a minister responsible for MSME development and legislation at the cabinet level, where MSMEs are represented in the cabinet. Policy is directed directly from the cabinet, and so we like to ask some questions in relation to MSME policy. Our executive member, Ms. Joanne Turnquest, she will answer questions 2 through 3, and I will ask questions 1 through 4, 1, 4, and 5. And so we begin with our first question tonight, and of course, this question relates to the legislative part of MSME. Are you and your party prepared, upon assuming office, to enact MSME legislation in the form specifically of an MSME Act to foster the development of the small, micro, and medium business sector of our country?
I think my whole presentation was in support of this legislation, because I know, like I said, I am a small business owner, and we will do whatever we can to make sure that this legislation
Unmute your mic, Mr. Stuart.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Stewart.
Okay. So we will definitely do what we can to make sure that this legislation is passed to protect, to strengthen, that governs small and medium enterprises in the Bahamas, but also legislation that gives support for small and medium enterprises, because I believe that if we don't grow our small and medium enterprise sector, our business sector will become vulnerable and ready for collapse. And so, yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I will direct the next 2 questions to Ms. Joan Turnquest, who will ask the questions. Go ahead, Ms. Turnquest.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart, for your answer. How do you propose to ensure that Bahamians become owners in the economy as opposed to just panhandling for FDI jobs?
One of the ways that Bahamians can become owners in their economy is, like I said earlier, the government must make sure that its policy look after its people first, rather than the foreigners first. If we can create legislation that will basically strengthen small business or open up the avenue for Bahamians to get into their business, but also not only rolling out the red carpet for the foreigners, but also for Bahamians, that will be able to give Bahamians a better ecosystem to be able to activate and to engage and to play in this small arena. I believe that as a government, though, I think the small and medium enterprise sector need to understand that the government has their back. The government has their back through policies. The government have their back through making sure that the banks and the lending institutions support the small business sector. And once that is in place, I believe that will give the small and medium enterprise sector the tools they need to soar.
Excellent. Thank you for your response. As a woman and an advocate for women's rights, I would like to know, how do you propose to stimulate and foster the growth of female entrepreneurship and business ownership in the Bahamas?
Well, when I look at the Bahamas now, I really see a lot of females already engaging in the small and medium enterprise sector here in Eleuthera. I've met several dynamic young enterprising women who have factories and manufacturing products. In New Providence, I know several of them. And so women are already begin to play and is already playing a major role in the small business sector. I just do believe that we got to continue to strengthen them. I think though our policy should be more a gender balance, not just pushing one gender over the other. We have to make sure that anybody who's playing in the small business sector, that we can give them support. And so I think, I understand the struggle and the hurdles that we have had to overcome as women had to overcome. However, I do know that right now we have a lot of problems with the men, and now the women are now taken off, but the men are lagging behind. We need to have a policy where we can bring everybody on the same page so that as we travel down the road to success, we're traveling together, not one gender over the other, but we're doing it together as a people. And so for me, I applaud the efforts of women. I see the strength, the value. I lead a political party, and I know that if you want to get it done, you got to give it to the women. And so for me, I understand. And I always said, if women stay home tomorrow, you think our country could work?
No, sir, don't.
It can't work. And so it can't work on a micro level nor a macro level. And so I understand the strength women bring to everything, even in my house. If my wife decided she ain't want to do nothing, I know the house could function. So
it's a dog eat your lunch, Mr. Stuart.
Exactly. And so,
thank you so much. It is said, he who rocks the cradle rules the world, eh? Thank
right.
you very much, Mr. Stuart.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you so much for your response, Mr. Stuart. Question 4 relates to the plight of self-employed business persons rather. And it's the question 4, there are numerous self-employed persons who cannot benefit from many NIB benefit programs, such as unemployment benefits, yet they are demanded to contribute to the fund. How would you and your government address this issue?
Now, you know the facts, Meek, but I've been paying national insurance for about 10, 15 years, and they tell me I can't benefit. So wow. We need legislation to be able to be sensible. I mean, you're telling me that as a self-employed individual, I make contributions, but I can't benefit. You know, something is fundamentally wrong with that. And but I think they jack up the national insurance fund and nobody could benefit now because money in it for nobody to benefit. So we got to fix that part. But I got you because as a small business owner, I go to work every day and I pay my national insurance, but they're telling me that I can't benefit, and something is wrong with that. And so we got to change that. We got to change that from a policy level so that as a small business owner, you are paying into this retirement fund, and when it's time for retirement, you can get access to it as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your response, Mr. Stuart. And finally, you already addressed this question in a number of ways, but we want to ask it formally. We roll out the red carpet for foreign investors and the red tape for the Bahamian domestic investor. How would your government propose to reform this unwritten policy?
We roll out the red noose. They strangle us. Wow. It's just a sensible approach to governance. I believe that if we are to have dinner at the table and you have children, your children should have preferential treatment to eat your dinner. Any guest that is coming into your house, anything left over they should have. I can't give my guests the food that my children should eat. And so as a leader in this country, my priority is my citizens, is the citizens. And so any yield from that $14 billion we produce in this economy, that should be given to Bahamians. And so while we have people who somehow greedily and selfishly hoard a lot of that $14 billion for themselves, we need to create a platform where our wealth is common. And, you know, the name of our country is not the Bahamas, it's really the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. However, we have not lived up to our name. Our name is, our wealth is not common. And so if we are to disperse that $14 billion of what our GDP produce, it should be dispersed to its citizens. And I believe in fighting to make sure that we can make every Bahamian successful. You know, when the central bank governor says that 90% of every Bahamian only have 90 days worth of money in emergencies, right? That means that's about less than $300. That means we've created an economy that does not work. And so how do we rebuild our economy? In the rebuilding of the new economy, we have to include the small business sector so that they could grow. And so one of the things that I'm questioning, and this is what I'm questioning, is that we have government tenders all the time. And let's just say we have 5 entrepreneurs who are among them. We have Oscar, we have Edison, we have Quentin, we have Patrick, we have Michelle. And they're all in bidding for a particular job. Let's just say the job is valued at $10 million, right? For me, I don't see the value in pushing that 10 million to one of those persons when we could divide that and share that equally amongst everybody. Because if we are the Commonwealth, then let's make it common, eh? Because why should I give it to Edison and Patrick Staves and Michelle doesn't get anything? Why should Quentin should not have money, resources to feed his family because I can give it all to Edison? It doesn't make sense to give the full thing to Edison. If everybody's in the same field, then if everybody's qualified, then should we not find a way to share that bid so that everybody could benefit? I mean, that's just the way I think. And that's not how government works. And I know I can get in problems, but I don't care because I'm not going to push the whole 10 million to Edison and let Quentin and his family starve when I could say, okay, Edison, you take 2, you take 2, you take 2, you take 2, everybody gets something. And then we all meet the requirement. And so that's how I'm going to roll out the red carpet. And I'm going to roll out the red carpet for Bahamians because I am one of you. I am a Bahamian, and I believe in making sure that we get the best of the Bahamas. We have made a paradise for them, but not for us. We got to change it. The new leadership got to make a paradise for us and then them.
Thank you so much for your response, Mr. Stuart. I love that last statement that you made. We've made a paradise for them and not for ourselves. Wow. And so thank you so much for answering our questions. We just want to say we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come and speak with us as business people. And at this time, members, executives, guests, directors, you are invited to ask Mr. Stuart questions. Questions related to any aspect of his presentation or other questions that you feel are hot and you have to get it out. Mr. Stuart is here and he is available. So please answer your questions. We have a question period for about 15 minutes and then we will wrap up.
No hard questions now.
You can add them, Mr. Stuart.
I know.
Yes. Questions, please. I'll begin. I'll start off with a question. Stuart, there's I love your presentation. There's something that I think I would have liked to have heard as well. As you know, one of the key factors of production, according to when you do microeconomics college, is land. Land is a key factor of production, and in the Bahamas we have a good amount of crown land, which many small and medium business persons have been trying to access for many years. And unfortunately, they go to land and surveys and put in the application, and then they hear nothing, and they follow up and they hear nothing again. What is your party's policy in respect to crown land, and how can we improve from this system that we're operating under now?
In the 2002 elections, our policy is we're going to make crown land available to Bahamians.
Mm.
2002 elections. And I'm talking about this year, I'm talking about from 20 years ago. That has
Wow.
always been a part of my platform. And so
Yes.
those who are talking about Crown Land now got that from us, because at that time we were being criticized heavily for it.
I recall.
One of the things that I have access to right now in my possession, all of the Crown Land that was given us from 1957 to now. And in that document revealed that in Eleuthera, there was over 300,000 acres of land that was taken for less than probably $10,000. Hog Island was sold for 10 pounds and 30 shillings. Carmichael Road was sold for $5. The entire Bamboo Town was sold for 30 something dollars. And I can go on and go on and go on and go on. If I tell you, y'all might cuss, because all the land that these people are standing on now, they ain't paid $1 for. Everything from Caves Height, all of the land from all the land on the lake, Caves Height, all that was given for free. The Supreme Court granted it to some people for free. And so when you're looking at in terms of land, what happened was in the 1960s, when the shift was moving from political power, the blacks were gaining political power, the whites had political power. What they did was they then took a lot of the land. So a lot of the land that was taken by the elite, the Bay Street boys, and so they took thousands, hundreds of thousands of acres of land. And so they gave us the political power, but they took the land. And then what they did was they all created the real estate companies. And so when you see all the names like Christie and so on, all of them were politicians, all of them were members of parliament before. And so they then went into the engaging of selling of land, but they didn't pay nothing for the land, they took it. So now 20 years, 30, 40 years later, a new generation rises up. We're professionals, but we try to get access to land, and the land now, what you took for free is now $500,000. And so we can't even engage, we can't even get into the game because you pay nothing for it, but now we are now at a disadvantage. Now, the word sustainable development. Sustainable development is development which meets the needs of the present, but it does not compromise future generations of meeting their own needs. So in other words, they took the land, but they put our generation at a disadvantage of getting access to land. And so now they then say to us now, our leaders say to us, well, you cannot get access to Crown land because, but the rest of them took all the ground land. And so if they could have taken it and gotten an advantage economically, because your value is basically in what land you get it. So if you want any loan, the bank to say, do you have any property? Well, of course they could go get loans because they got all the property. And so if I was to give James a piece of property, 100 acres somewhere else, and now he have collateral to now go raise capital. But if the Simonettes and the Sands and all of them, the Christies and all of them could take all the land and now they could start their economic future for their children, why can't we do it for Bahamians, the other Bahamians, us, this generation? Yeah. And so for me, this land issue is really, really, really a contentious issue, but it's basically the only, when they talk about real estate, it's the only estate that is real is the land. That's the only thing you could physically possess. We talked about the natural resources and all those things, but the only natural resources you could physically possess is the land. And I'm in favor of making sure that each and every one of you get access to land.
All right. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Cassius. Yeah. How you doing, buddy? Terry Quist again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I have a very easy question for you. Now, you haven't seen our business model. We are going to WhatsApp you or email you our business model where we have board of directors. We're going to develop a 3 to 5 year strategic plan for small business development in the whole country. I don't know if you're aware, but we're going to have island satellite administrators. McLean Pender, he's part of our group, and he's the satellite representative administrator for North Eleuthera. And we have also an initiative for South Eleuthera. What is your party's policies and vision for a national development plan for all the Family Islands, 18 plus strong, in reference that you will be given priority to all, not one, in reference to small business development in agriculture, fishery, tourism, created markets, and everything else?
Well, Mark, if I may say, we were the ones who came up with the terminology National Development Plan. 20 years ago, we came up with what we call a 40-year National Development Plan that encompasses all of the Bahamas. I always bring in the engagement of Turks and Caicos because a lot of people don't understand that why the Turks and Caicos broke off from the Bahamas. And it's basically the same kind of thing that is happening with the other islands in that under Governor Shirley, the guy who named Shirley, who Shirley Street is named after, Governor Shirley was the then governor of the Bahamas. There were two representatives from the Turks and Caicos that used to come once a month to Nassau, and every time they came, they had to bring the tax from the salt. And their argument was, we keep bringing money in, but there's no money coming back. And so they then made a plea to Governor Shirley for them to go under Jamaica. He granted them that plea because apparently there was a ship that came from England to the Turks and then Jamaica. So they saw the representatives from Jamaica more than they saw the Bahamas. And Governor Shirley granted them permission to go under Jamaica for a short while, and then they reverted back to the British Crown. We see the very same thing in Eleuthera. We see the very same thing in Abaco. In other words, Eleuthera raised a hell of a lot of tax for the Bahamas, particularly Harbour Island. So that tax is now raised and the money is shipped into central government, but nothing goes back into it. And so the little pieces that comes back into it is that we can fix your road and we can fix and so on. These islands raise enough revenue to be able to sustain themselves. While I understand the need for central government to be able to have monies to govern, we also need to also leave monies in the kitty so that these islands can be able to handle their own affairs. I don't need to go to central government if the roads need to fix or the parks need to fix or bulbs or the airport need to be painted. Central government needs to be able to relinquish some of the power to local government through these, what you call satellites, so that they can run their own affairs. And so as a party, one of the policies is to make sure that we can also equip these islands to be able to handle their affairs, but also use those same affairs to grow industries, engage entrepreneurs, engage foreign direct investors, engage people, whether it's to build factories or to bring in the entrepreneurs and so on, because, nobody knows Eleuthera like Eleutherans. Nobody knows Cat Island like Cat Islands. They know what they want. And so allow them to be a part of the planning, the development of their own island. And so, but we cannot allow, when it comes to Cat Island, when you look at the airport, it's really dilapidated, but you cannot have Cat Island raise revenue, send it to Nassau, and nothing goes back into Cat Island. We need to make sure that at least portions stay to be able to fix and develop these islands and all the infrastructure in these islands. If that answers.
Yeah, that's a nice answer. And well, from your presentation tonight, we see that you're well read, you're prepared, and you have a vision for the country. I always knew that you were a man of your word for over the years. So we are comfortable. Like Mr. Dean said at the beginning, we are the face of the small business in the country. We ready to look at policy changes and legislation. We're going to hold everybody feet to the fire. And but what I like about the atmosphere now, we have a lot of heroes in the country who really step up to the plate, and you're one of them. And I'm happy that we have invited you tonight in reference to explaining your philosophy of how you're going to help us, because last year was rough. We was on the streets marching like crazy people, all over the streets. We didn't need to. If we had what I call a place at a table, and I'm going to end with this saying we were marching last year, September, and it's our anniversary now, September the 4th. And now we are a strong movement, 242 Small Business Association Resource Center. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, good night.
please.
Go ahead, Ms.
Yes, good night,
Go ahead.
Mrs. Stuart. How are you? How are
Sorry,
you,
my
Mrs.
hand
Stuart?
was raised.
Vice
And
President,
then, it's okay.
And
Hold
Joan.
on 1 second for me, please, Mr. VP. Ms. Turnquest had a hand raised for a while. So we'll have
Okay.
Ms. Turnquest, and you can take a minute, and then Mr. Sands will then come right after you. Go ahead, Ms. Turnquest.
I'm so
No
sorry.
problem.
That's the teacher in me. I'm sorry, Mr. VP. Mr. Stewart, thank you so much. I loved your presentation. I have, I think, 3 questions, but I'm going to go very fast with them. One thing though, if you become the prime minister of this country, please name them and shame them. They have to publicly apologize to the Bahamian people for taking all the crown land, and they need to give it back. I don't care how, give it back and share it equally amongst our people. That's the statement. The first question, so you talked about the factories. I would like to know, how is your government going to ensure that our environment is not really hurt by the manufacturing plants that you would like to put here? Secondly, and I realize now why they make it difficult, because they want to stay wealthy and happy. Secondly, the wipes, the mosquito wipes. I think you need to do some COVID wipes or something like that, please. Maybe that's something you're thinking of. And then lastly, you know, as a teacher, you talked about starting at 8th grade. I respect that very much. However, I think we tend to think the little ones, you want them to wait until they get in junior school or high school. But sometimes we got to catch it, the tree, we got to prune that tree while that's tiny. So I say that to say, if at any point, sir, you want to do a primary school arm of your kind of sort of like junior achievement or of your financial plans, please. I'm at Stephen Dillard Primary School. Please reach out to me, and I'm ready to say to my principal that possibly the future prime minister would like to have something like this in primary school, and I volunteer my school first and foremost. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Listen, I am not written in stone. I think that it's a good suggestion. If you want to take it down to the primary school, let's teach them about money management. Let's teach them about how do you become successful. What I found out is that our counterparts, you have the white Bahamians and white America, they teach their children at a very early age about money. And we have to learn from them and learn what makes them successful and adopt. And in business, we call what they call benchmark. Benchmarking is basically copying. So when they say we can benchmark, we copy, and let's copy what works. And so training our kids about money management and understanding how money works, it's essential. One of the things I want to be able to teach our kids too is this concept of cryptocurrency and digital currency, because that'll be the new wave of the future. And the Bahamas is now playing with the sand dollar and the digital currency. And so I suspect in 20 years, we won't be walking around with dollar bills in our hands no more in the Bahamas. China has already eradicated dollar bills now. So it's all paying over the phone. And so as business owners, you have to be smart enough to understand where the concept is, so get into that business quickly. What the other question was again? A little old.
Okay, I think
The wipes, the
Sorry,
mosquito wipes.
the wipes.
And the
Yes.
environment, the
Oh,
impact
yes.
of factories on the environment.
Oh, yes, that is what we can do is, we have not been wise enough to understand the use of solar. And part of that is that we've had legislation for some time that prohibits Bahamians from using solar so that we could spend our money with BEC. And now we're just relaxing those policies. But we live in an environment where we have sun, that we could use solar to power these factories. And a lot of the factories don't require that much power generation, but we could use solar to be able to power that factory generation. We can also look at other ways of generating power to be able to power these factories. I don't want to have a heavy carbon footprint in the Bahamas, because we all know that the hydrochloro that's really destroying the atmosphere is not good for the environment. And so we also have reefs that we have to protect. And so we got to do whatever we can to protect the natural environment, because one of the things that we as humans forget, that we think that this is just a human planet. We don't understand that we are perhaps the smallest among all species on the planet. There's about 8 billion of us, but there's about 10 trillion ants. So they outnumber us. There's about 4 trillion birds, they outnumber us. And so we think that because we are, we're the ones can talk, that we're the only ones here. And so we got to be able to live in harmony. And like I said earlier, there is no organism on the planet that is independent. So I want to remind you of this concept of independence. And now we've heard it a lot in this last election season. I'm an independent candidate, independent. That's why we are a failure. No organism on God's earth is independent. And so we all are interdependent. We work together as an ecosystem. And so that is why, for us to be able to protect the environment, because we need the trees, because the trees gives us oxygen, they take our carbon dioxide in, and so on, they clean up the air. And so we need the birds, we need the bees, we need everybody. And so we must do whatever we can to protect our environment. And I'm a gardener, I'm a farmer. And so I love, that's a part, Mark, you got to put it on my resume. I'm a farmer as well, too.
Okay.
And so I'm always in the yard. I'm always in the garden. My wife will tell you, when I come home, the first thing I do is go in the yard all night, and the mosquitoes don't bite me no more because they know me by name, and I know them by name. So, but for me, I love the environment, and I will do whatever I can to protect the environment.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice President, Mr. Sands. We're just a little over the 10 o'clock hour. And, we keep our session series tight in terms of time, but we realize that this presentation has been so thorough. There's some questions that really we have to make leeway for. Mr. Vice President.
Good night, Mr. Stuart. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, sir, Mr. Sands. How are you?
I'm doing great. Very, very interesting, and I applaud you on what you have said so far, and it's very informative and very educational. As you know, my name is Mr. Quentin Sands, Vice President of SBARC 242. I just want to say that you made a point about the importance of this MSEs, of small business in the country. So I want to know, firstly, how are you going to highlight small businesses when you become government, so we can have a voice on a higher playing field and in Parliament, to make sure that that we're not just going to be muffled in the background, after y'all get in office. And secondly, I'm being following countries like Dubai. I don't know if you know about Dubai and how they developed from a desert country into one of the greatest economies in the world. How do you see us modeling ourselves from where we are now? They were into oil, and they actually used oil as the catalyst to turn, and then they changed their economy from that into another economy, such as industry. So how do you feel about us, like how we were centered on tourism, and tourism is definitely not the main model for the Bahamas, and now we've moved away from that? And what do you see as the main industry we should be looking forward to in the future, or should we try to develop?
First of all, as a country, we got to understand what is our competitive advantage in the world, and what gives us that strength. We all know about SWOT analysis. You have to understand where your strengths lie, and then how do you mitigate your weaknesses, and you stay away from threats and opportunities are basically more external than anything. So strengths and weaknesses are more internal. So you look at your strength as a country, and what are our strengths? What do we have? What do we have to work with? We have a lot of natural raw material. We have good human capital. And so let's be able to build industries based upon the raw material or the natural resources we have. The Bahamas will find oil, and they will find about $50 billion worth of oil pretty soon. Now, what do we do? What do we do with that? Do we keep it underground, or do we pull it out and do we make money from it? That's the question. We ain't gonna discuss that tonight, but that's the question we have to have.
Yeah.
And so when we do find this oil, what do we do with it? And so for us, though, we need to look at all of the other natural raw material we get. One is water. You know, we are wasting hundreds of millions of dollars right now because we're paying another company to bring water in from our water to sell to us, which don't make no sense to me. And so we got, I told you about the 6 derivatives of oil. If we decide, if we do find oil, do we go into refining oil? Companies that refine oils, their fuel at the pump is 7 cents a gallon. Right now we're paying $5.70 a gallon in Eleuthera.
$5.24 to be exact now.
And so we got to decide, what do we want? I mean, right now we have Statoil in Freeport, which has one of the largest reserves in the Western world right here in the Bahamas. We could have engaged them to start refining some of the oil too. And so there are some things that I'm exposed to. I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to say, but you know, we have to find ways of strengthening our core competencies and the competitive advantage that makes us who we are. And then let's exploit that. And you know, Singapore, Dubai, of course, they went into oil, but their leaders were smart enough to understand that one of the common goals was to be able to come together as a people. Lee Kuan Yew, the president of Singapore, the prime minister of Singapore, said something to a gentleman. He was in a forum, and one of the forum, the guy asked him, he was from India, why can't India be successful like Singapore? And he made a statement that was very interesting. He said, sir, the problem with your president is that when he speaks, only 30% of the people understand what he's saying. In other words, there's so many different languages.
Sounds familiar.
So India problem is they get so many different languages. When our prime minister speaks, he speaks our language, we still ain't understand what he said. But the goal was that Lee Kuan Yew said that when he took power, he made sure that English was the common language that everybody could understand. Then there's the second language, and there's the Malay, and there's also Mandarin. But for us as a people, we got to speak the same language. Remember now, our national commitment, the preamble says that our success should be guaranteed through a national commitment to self-discipline, industry, unity, and loyalty. See, that unity is where we speak the same language. So Dubai is successful because they're speaking the same language. Singapore is successful because they're speaking the same language. We have so many different languages in the Bahamas. We don't know. We know one language is PLB, the next language is F&M. And so there's no common language. There's no Bahamas. It's party. And so unless we are loyal to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, we will always fail. But we are loyal to our political parties. And that's why we have not moved. We are a national debt of 10 billion right now. When they took power in 67, we had a surplus. We had $10 billion. The interest payments on the loan is $450 million. $450 million. So right now we spend $700 million on salaries, $400 million on interest payments of the loan. So this is the budget now, all right? And then we spend another $700 million on subsidies like Bahamas Air and BC and water and sewer, $700 million. And so how could we ever succeed? We're speaking so many different languages. And we all mix up. And this is why we need the professional business people to be in politics. We need people like you all to engage politics. We cannot depend on the lawyer, one, no disrespect to the lawyer, or the doctor, no disrespect to the doctor. But we need people who understand all of the intricacies of business so that we can be able to fix this problem. But the problem is that a lot of us shy away and think that they got it. The problem is they had it so long that they messed it all up. And so the problem is that the next administration will have the toughest job in any administration ever, whoever it be, because you got to pull us out of a $10 billion debt. The national insurance pension fund, which was $1.9 billion, is almost wiped out. So there's no money for the pension now. So how do we now secure everybody from 55 and over that they will have a retirement pension? There's no more money for that. And so we have a hard task. And I know I strain off from the question, but this is this is the reality of where we are as a people, that we have now inherited a country that is junk status on the international market, debt-ridden, no productivity, tourism declining, full of COVID, everybody dying. And then also too, we all know that in any business, productivity lends to success. But you can't demand productivity from a staff that is sick. We have 155,000 registered diabetic cases in the Bahamas. That's 40% of our country. How do we demand productivity from a nation that is sick? Cancer, hypertension. And so we have to now build our country from the ground up again. And this is on you guys, because you are part of the new generation. We got to all build this country up. And so the job ain't going to be easy. It's going to be difficult because now we're sick, we broke. How do we fix that problem?
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. We can take maybe one more question, but before that, one last question, and then we'll have Ms. Turnquest just give the vote of thanks for us. Mr. Stuart, Grand Bahama. We represent members also in that northerly island of Grand Bahama who have been in business for many years. And, the economy in Grand Bahama continues just to be lagging and that island, when it is in a hurricane, at stores, it's some other condition. What does your party propose to do about business in Grand Bahama?
Well, I think we need to face the facts with Grand Bahama. I think we've all been skating around the truth about Grand Bahama for a long time. And if what I've learned as a politician, if you speak the truth, sometimes people don't like you, and you gotta say what they want to say. But I'm old enough now to say, let me speak the truth. The Grand Bahamian economy was really built around gangster money, right? Initially with Wallace Grove and the casinos coming in and so on. The Grand Bahama economy was really fueled in the 80s by drugs and so on. And so a lot of people had money. And so that's where it was really propped up. So the economy was really false. When all that came crumbling down, though, we would begin to see exactly what it really was. We pushed a lot of effort into the polymers and the Boco and the big industries. We did not pay attention to the small industries. We used the small industries as props, but it was really the big guys, the Boco, the Syntex, and all of the big guys. That's who got all the concessions. And when Carnival and those guys, bring the boat factory and so on. We need to pay serious attention to the small sector, because what happened was after those big guys collapsed, there was nothing to sustain it because there was no small business. If you're going to push the big companies, you got to push the small companies to work side by side, because you need to be able to have that equilibrium. And so I had reached out to the Port Authority chairman at that time, and I'd asked him, listen, right now the bazaar is hurting. I think in order for us to get this thing back up, can we create a program where we remove these heavy business licensing, allow people to come in to work and give them concessions up to a few years so that they don't have to pay the license tax, so that we can get people back to work? And, it was only lip service. Oh yeah, it sounds good, but nothing ever happened. So when you go now to the bazaar, it's deteriorated, it's dilapidated, it's a dump. And so we allowed one of the most exciting center of activity in the island of Grand Bahama to deteriorate. And so what we need to do is we need to be sensible with it, because we're being fueled by the tourist product. what the Grand Bahama Port Authority did in Grand Bahama is also hurt it a little more. They created a little makeshift market right outside where the port docks. So the tourist comes off the dock, they go to this makeshift market, they buy their products and go back on. They never really get to go into the island of Grand Bahama, go to the port, go to Port Lucaya no more, go to the buy some food. It's creating what they call a vacuum in the society. And so what we have to do is we got to revisit Grand Bahama and create sensible policies to stimulate small businesses in Grand Bahama. And whether that be giving extension to or removing some of those heavy license taxes that they have in Grand Bahama so that people could get back to work. And so I've already approached the Grand Bahama Port Authority on that as well too. But those are some of the ideas that I have for Grand Bahama. But I think that the Grand Bahama needs the Carmichael Road, the Carmichael Road model. When you look at Carmichael Road, you have hundreds of small mom and pop shops and businesses going up. So the reason why Carmichael Road is so successful is because you got so much small enterprises popping up that they could be able to meet needs along the way. And that's what we need in Grand Bahama. And so while we fuel that with the tourists coming in, we also need to make sure that we can give those people on the ground a jump start. Now, I know that Grand Bahama has some of the most creative, enterprising people I've met. And last year, before the last storm, I was a part of the Grand Bahama Port Authority stimulating some small businesses, and I was very impressed with what I saw in Grand Bahama. I think the biggest problem that Grand Bahamians face right now is not the access to opportunity, but I think it's a broken spirit. And after so many storms and setbacks, and I think they have a broken spirit. And I think as a leader, one of the leaders in the country, we got to begin to speak back into their spirit and tell them to listen, even though we were knocked down, we got to get back up. So no matter whatever storm comes, we are resilient. What the word is? Resilient. We are resilient, and we will continue to fight back. And so I think once they can get themselves back, once we can speak life back into them, I think nothing can stop them, because what they've been through, no other Bahamian has been through. And so for me, it's not the opportunity is their biggest problem. I think their spirit has been crushed and broken.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Stuart, for that answer. We really appreciate it. I know we have other questions. How can we get more information on your party's platform really related to business, Mr. Stuart?
We are www.mybdm.org.
Okay.
And if you want to join, sign up. Of course, now we didn't have a chance to convert everything to the coalition and the United Coalition, because everything is so fluid and volatile right now. But you can still revert to the BDM's website and see exactly what we plan. And then also some of our YouTube, some of the more, I've crystallized a lot of our plans in animations. So go to the Bahamas Democratic Movement's YouTube page, and you will see a lot of the ideas on industries and different policies of agriculture. One of the things that I'm going to create is to push for more vertical farms. You know, we have 0.8% arable lands. In other words, we don't have that much farmland in the Bahamas, but we can go into vertical farming. And so these vertical farming mean more greenhouses so that we could be able to sustain, every island should be able to sustain itself in terms of crops. When it comes to islands like Eleuthera and Abaco, all these tourists that comes here, we don't need to bring food in from America to feed them. They should be able to get food from the farms to be able to sustain themselves. And only then we'll be able to produce a healthier society. But our farming program should be where it can sustain the domestic product, and any excess we'll be able to put in a position to export. I believe that we could do that in Exuma. Exuma has a healthy tourist product. We have sandals, you have granaries, you have a lot of different small motels that fuels a lot of visitors. We need to make sure that the food they eat is grown right in Exuma. Here in Eleuthera, you have Harbor Island, you get Spanish Wells, you got even all these different French leaf here in Governor's Harbor. The food they eat should be grown in Eleuthera. And that is with the policy that we're going to push for, a policy of number one, that we're going to become number one in agriculture. that our food will be organically grown in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, at this time, I'll call upon Ms. Joan Turnquest, executive member, who will give the official vote of thanks. Thank you so much, members, for coming out. Ms. Turnquest.
Listen, I am so excited. Last night was dynamic. Tonight it continued with the leader of the United Coalition, Mr. Cassius Stuart. And I have known Mr. Stuart for many years. You know why I endorse someone like him? He used to come to the school and we would talk and he would find out what are the challenges y'all are faced with, even when there was no political season. And so it's people like him that make me realize that our country all is not lost, and we need this type of visionary, youthful leadership. He called our country sick and broke. I am so glad he said it. That is what we are. But with people like Mr. Stuart and those who are factored into his regime, I am certain our country will rebound. Pastor Miles always said the Bahamas is the eyes of the world. Listen, I have goosebumps when I listen to people like Mr. Stuart. You, sir, you said you were pregnant with IDES, and you certainly are. And I know you're going to give, 9 months. It takes 9 months to have the child. And so we know the first 9 months will be where you deliver some things to us. Tonight you promised us, or I don't want to say promise, but you said that you guarantee small business people would have access to capital, that we will have licenses to open the banks and the casinos and the hotels, that we will be a regional and global force to reckon with, and #1 in agriculture and trade. Listen, we believe you. I believe you. I believe you because I know what you used to do in Oaksfield Primary School yard when you came to talk, and then you have Adrian with you. Man, listen, what other type of caliber of people? Our country is ripe with persons who want to see a change and make a change no matter what. I am so impressed. You've warned us about nepotism. You said something that will forever stick with me. When you started it off by saying national success is us working together. National success is us working together. And that was the mindset of the Singaporean government when he said, I don't care if you're this and I don't care if you're that. I want to see my nation succeed. And I spent time over there in Singapore, and they did not care what color, what side of the political divide. It was a nation that they were looking at fixing and cultivating. And you have that spirit in you. And I pray God's just your protection and your covering from whatever evil force is out there. Please don't do the shuffle, because I realized every time they did the shuffle, the country went down, keep going down and down. So don't do any shuffle, Mr. Stuart. Keep it up. You told us to be creative and to think globally. And tonight we walk away saying we feel good that our country is headed in the right direction. Godspeed. Thank you so very much on behalf of the directors and the president of SBARC. We say thank you so much for coming. Godspeed, sir. Thank you. And I'm here if you need me.
I need you. I do need you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Turnquest. And this ends our National Leaders Series with Mr. Cassius Stuart tonight. Go ahead, Mr. Stuart.
Before we end, can I just, I'm just tempted to show you all something. Can I show you all something?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Can I share my, can you give me power to share as well too?
I think you should have it already.
I lost it.
You lost it?
But you want to share something, Cassius?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr.
Okay, let me make you the host then. Let's see. Let me get you.
Yeah. One of the
Yes.
things I think that as small business owners, you got to be creative. And one of the things that God has given me is a little bit of creativity. And we have this pandemic, and I was thinking,
You're
Lord, I
not a
cannot.
host. You're not a host, Cassius.
I said, I can't. I said, I cannot see this virus, but how do we be able to fight this virus? We cannot see it. So I'll show you what came up from my thoughts after I said, we want to be able to fight this virus. This is what I created.
Today, we the leaders of the world have gathered because of this deadly virus. This global pandemic have pushed our governments to the breaking point. Our healthcare professionals are working above and beyond to combat this virus. However, we need your help. In fact, the entire world needs your help to defeat this virus once and for all. Should you accept this challenge, the world would be forever in your debt.
All right, that was a video game that I created as a result.
Welcome back everyone to our channel. My name is Dmitry Lipinski. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about.
That was a video game I created based upon the coronavirus.
Wow.
And the whole goal was to go ahead and save the world. And so you have to go to 14 cities. 14 cities represented 14 days of incubation if you get the virus. You have to put masks on people, and then you got to kill the coronavirus. And the first city is Nassau, Bahamas. And so it's on the Play Store now, on Google Play Store now for 99 cents.
Wow.
So I'm hoping I can get into that $75 billion market and probably make $100 million by next year of that game.
You will. I tell you, you have the COVID wipes. You have it. You got the answer. That's
And it just speaks to the Bahamian intellectual capacity, Mr. Stuart. So, it speaks to what we have in our own country.
Absolutely.
And yes, it speaks to the fact that really and truly business people are supposed to be at the helm of government, but nonetheless, we thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you so much, Mr. West. Thank you so much. I can't wait to play that game.
Good night. Mr. Stuart, sorry, good night, group. Just a little interjection in regards to that video game that you displayed. I think it is very underrated. We watch the Prime Minister's national address or trying to get to convey the urgency and finding ways to mitigate the spread of this coronavirus and to show people the seriousness of it. And I feel as though that video game is an attempt to reach the young person, to get them involved in the creativity and find ways in which we can bring awareness of the coronavirus and its catastrophic impact on society. And I feel as though that can help as well to reach the young person. So kudos to Mr. Stuart. I think it's going to go further than you would have anticipated, and the young persons will be eager. It's a very, very thoughtful initiative, and it will reach the intended impact. So keep up the good work, Mr. Stuart. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else has anything else they'd like to add to Mr. Stuart in this 1 minute we have left? Take 10 seconds.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Delano Lightborn, and I just wanted to make a comment tonight. You know, I've known Mr. Stewart for many, many years, a very good friend of mine. And I came on here tonight to listen to what he had to say. And I must say, you know, there are a lot of people who are out there, leaders of parties, who are actually speaking. And tonight, as you know, I listened to Mr. Stewart, my good friend, and I would want to say this to him. There are a lot of people, a lot of persons who are leading parties. When they speak as politicians. Tonight, Mr. Stewart, I listened to you. You spoke as a leader who can lead this country. And I'm very proud of you. And I believe that you are one of the solutions to this country. And I wish you all the best. And I believe you are our next Prime Minister.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Horton.
Oh, hello. I just was saying, I opened my mic to actually just say good night when y'all close the session. But
okay.
Yes, I'm very happy to be invited to this session. I got it through the candidates group with Mr. Cassius Stuart. I had a very good time listening to it. I learned a lot of things, some things that can be implemented into my business. I'm a small business owner also. And I'd like to thank you all for having me participate.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Pardon
All right.
me?
So, yes, thank you so much, Ms. Horton. And so we just want to close at this time. I just want to recognize in our absence, our chairperson, Ms. Alberta Rule, of course, our president, Mr. Mark Turnquest. We want to thank him for his invaluable assistance and support and facilitation of this particular forum. Our VP, Mr. Quinton Sands. I see our secretary, Ms. Kay Bryant. I wish Ms. Kay Bryant could just give a shout, but nonetheless, thank you so much, Ms. Bryant. And I want to recognize I think she went off the platform, Ms. Chantel Taylor. She's a former, I think, student of my own. And so I want to recognize Minister Chantel Taylor, want to recognize her. And thank you so much, SBARC members, executives, for coming out. And once again, Mr. Stewart, we can't say thank you. You've given us much more than we anticipate and expected. You added much value to us, and so we thank you so much, and we wish your business continued success. And we want to remind you that should your party take the government of the Bahamas in this September, we will hold you, sir, to your promise of putting MSMEC policy to the forefront. So we just want to share that with you. Thank you so much, sir, once again. And we close on this meeting at this time. And thank you so much for coming out. And do have a wonderful evening. Have a blessed evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
God bless you. And don't forget, we're going to need a little thing. We're going to need a vote.
Well, go ahead, sir. The policies, would you put
for the United Coalition? We need a little thing.
You need that little thing. All right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stewart. Okay.
All right, sir. God bless.
Thank you, buddy.
And we know South Lutra will be better because of you.
McLean Pender. Don't forget, McLean Pender and Saudi Lutra. And Naughty Lutra is McLean Pender. McLean Pender, that's my boy. He also is a member of our organization.
Yes.
Running for us, a Naughty Lutra. He also is a member of our organization, 242 Small Business Association and Resource Center. Thank you, buddies.
Yes.
Good night.
Yes. And so Lutra is in good hands.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Good night, buddies. Good night.
Right. Good night. Wonderful evening, everyone.